This is the sponsorship tier list where we get to go through a bunch. So just to go through the tier list real fast, we have top tier. This is like good people, good products, good prices, right? That's a top tier sponsorship. It's moral, it follows all the rules, and is good for both the creator and the people that are watching it as well. Pretty good is, of course, just a tier down. Acceptable. This is the lowest range that we should want to see. And then, of course, we have kind of scummy, bad product, and most likely a scam. For a few of these that are in here. So, all right, Venture's on here. Should be on here somewhere. All right.
It's on there. It's the sticker.
Oh, is it down? No. This is Venture Surplus right here. Yeah. Couldn't have got a better image for that. All right. Well, moving on to number one. Oh, no, it's down. This is BDU. BDU was probably one of the first big sponsors in the game. And we'll talk about this a little bit. In theory, I think that BDU is kind of a nice idea. What did people used to call it? The Costco of the gun world or something. Basically, it's a membership platform. If you buy into the $50 a year or $100 a year, whatever it happened to be, you would get access to group pricing. So your pricing would be a little bit better. In some cases, that would work out well. However, they started to fall apart quite quickly. I think the McKnights were the people who owned and ran that. And then they started doing gun buybacks and they started doing all sorts of silly stuff. What are your thoughts on BDU, Gary?
So they've had horrible money management issues. I went through and I dug through Glassdoor for employee reviews. Apparently, money management has been an issue all the way back to 2021. There was a general sense that the McKnights had no idea what they were doing. They're relatively latecomers to the gun industry. They were just, after Obama got elected the first time, they were like, we need to buy guns. And then they bought guns and they were like, we can sell guns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that whole thing worked. They had an issue where they weren't paying their sponsees. Leviathan had this massive lawsuit against them because they just didn't pay Leviathan. They didn't pay Leviathan. And I mean, if there's somebody you don't want to pay, it's probably, if there's somebody you don't want to piss off, it's probably Leviathan because they have so much money.
Well, they have a lot of money and they have all of the popular YouTubers, right? So they have the biggest voice in the industry as well as a ton of money to throw around. And they basically sunk BDU. BDU is defunct as far as I'm aware.
Well, no, they're not entirely the reason why BDU is sunk. Actually, if we want to get into it, the Rare Breed Trigger is part of the reason why BDU is sunk, because they stole the IP for Rare Breed's FRT, rebranded it as the Wide Open Trigger, got a judgment against them, and then had most of their stock that was actually in their warehouse, which, by all accounts, it wasn't a lot because they never had anything in stock in the first place. They had most of their stock confiscated and redistributed to Rare Breed. If I'm reading that one correctly.
I believe you're correct, because a funny story is, for a little while, Rare Breed had the wide open triggers for sale on their website as kind of like a blem model, as like a buy this as is, no warranty, because basically this isn't our trigger. It in theory does the same thing and it's made the same way, but this isn't ours. And I almost bought one, like right before they had to take everything down. I almost bought one of the wide open triggers through Rare Breed because they had all of that stock basically to pawn off. So yeah,
they're dead and gone. But back in the day, they actually weren't terrible. I've bought a significant amount I've spent thousands of dollars at BDU. The Trijicon VCOG that you reviewed a couple weeks ago, I got from BDU. Most of my magazines I got from BDU. They had a really nice Black Friday sale or Cyber Monday sale or whatever, and you got a free magazine for every time you spent over $50. So it's like, oh, things are going through, so I should probably buy a bunch of stuff. And it's like, it just spaces out in $50 increments. Got a bunch of mags.
Well, VCOG is a lot of $50 increments.
I have so many of the OD Green Lancer mags from that.
COD comes in and says, wondering if Texas Plinking's video "Am I a Shill" was in response to you, lol. I don't think so. I've seen some of Texas Plinking stuff. It's just like general entertainment content. Some of it's pretty good, but I don't think so. But yeah, I think BDU. Where do you want to put BDU? Probably
All the
kind of
way at the bottom.
really
Yeah, all the way at the bottom.
towards the end. Towards
They're
the
bad
end.
for creators. They're
Mhm.
bad for creators, or they were bad for creators because they didn't get paid. They were bad for customers because you ended up paying for access to stuff that you couldn't actually buy because it would never ship.
Right.
Uh, it was bad
Well,
for the
that's the whole
employees.
thing.
It was just bad for everybody.
Yeah, towards the end, there were reports of people basically not getting products whatsoever, or it would take like 1 to 2 months to get products. So, you would give them, yeah, it's a good price, but they're basically waiting on suppliers to get them, their product before they can even ship it to you, or they're having money issues. So then they
I
don't necessarily have the cash to buy the product to send it to you. And so they're waiting for more people to buy stuff so they can kind of catch up, and it's kind of this horrible cycle you get into if they did have money problems all the way from the beginning and never figured it out.
there's one review on Glassdoor. It said that their point of sale system stopped working because they didn't pay the subscription on it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that tells me all I need to know about how and that wasn't even like as they were imploding. That was before they were having problems.
Hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like they were just mismanaged from the beginning. The McKnights did not do a good job. Now, well, also I wonder if how much they were supposedly paying out to some of these YouTubers had an effect on their cash flow, because at some
Well,
point
they
they were.
didn't pay them is the problem.
Well, I think they did because this happened for years. So I'm sure at some point they were making payments. And then as cash flow got worse and worse, they stopped because people did these ads for years. And I'm sure they wouldn't have done them for years if they weren't seeing any money whatsoever. But I do agree with you that at some point they just completely stopped. So BDU, I kind of want to put it in the kind of scummy category,
I
but
put it in the very
fair enough,
scummy
fair enough.
category.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's got to be in the most likely a scam category because they're the bad one. They're the bad one that everyone knows it failed, and
They were the they were the big one, honestly, that was like maybe sponsors on gun channels aren't actually maybe not everybody's being honest here.